And we're live.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh. We are live. Alright, well, today, guys, welcome to another episode of Miniature Monday. We've got our bear, well, what do we call it? The Bearbarian. We got our Bearbarian here. We're going to be painting him up today. Decided to leave the Centaur for the final video. I figured she'd be pretty cool to try and add more detail into. If you haven't seen yet already, I did share the images for the June, or sorry, is that the right month? March, April, May, June? Yeah, the June kit. So the June kit photos are out there. That's the desert theme. It's got the camel, it's got the caravan guy, that's cool Arabian themed, like trader looking dude with the cool sword. I can actually just show them to you. Wait, where are they? Wait a minute. Just kidding, I don't have them at all next to me, they're packed, but we've got the camel on there, and then we have the two ogres. The ogres, I don't even know if people noticed, but all of the skin tones are tan, so it's not like sort of like pale-skinned ogres. Everybody is tan. It makes sense, right, for the desert environment. And then we also sort of have like the blue, kind of like magical body paint on the one that just has the big club, and then the guy that's in armor, we have some of the blue paint as well to kind of make that match. And then the basing was pretty simple, and just did the sand pigment powder to make it look kind of dusty and whatever. And so those should be really fun. A lot of more subtle work on them that'll kind of help out a lot of people as well. Like the camel has a lot of subtle color work in it that's really fun. The skin, obviously, on the big ogre is really awesome. The fabric I tried to do really highly reflective to make it look like it is like silk or something on the trader, the merchant, whatever we want to call him. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll be really fun. I know that John said, assuming everything goes to plan, those will be available for purchase on the 25th of this month. So relatively soon. You won't be rushing to get them, after the fact of the first episode. And that will be it for the second season once that comes out of Miniature Monday. So that's cool. We're two quarters deep, 2 seasons deep. We're gonna be what, 17 episodes, I believe.
This is episode 19 currently. Right?
19. Oh, are you including? How is it 19 episodes? 12. Oh yeah, I'm stupid. Sorry. So it's 20. It'll be 24 episodes when we're done. There we go. Yeah. All right. 25 if we include the extra bonus. So that'll be pretty cool. Assuming my math brain is working. But first thing we're going to do here, I'm just going to take our sort of typical 1-to-1 dilution with Shield Brown. You can see it right here. And we're going to go ahead and coat pretty much everything you see. We're going to do everything from his fur to his little necklace, all the way to also doing the loin little wrap clothing he's got on. Every single square inch of the bear is going to start with this color. What's fun about this guy is we're going to be sort of carving in or sculpting in our shadows, and we're going to be doing that on every single object using a different tone. So that way it kind of gives you an idea, right, of how, even with a limited palette, you're able to really kind of space out and maximize the value of every color you have. This was also, a really important principle. Like some of the kits didn't really matter as much, right? Like the lizard kit or the jungle kit, we had pretty different colors, and all the color schemes, worked out between the miniatures relatively easily. Even the kits that were heavy on blue, so like the kit with the crystal golem, all of that, like, yeah, they used the same palette, but everything worked out relatively independently. This kit is a kit that pushes you closer to having to work with those nuances, and then the desert kit is extremely on the note with that, as we really use sort of all of the same tones for every single thing, from the camel skin to the robes to like all those different miniatures use the same colors, and they're all very similar, but what's different is the selection that we're using to do the tinting and the shadows, and so that's something that we haven't really focused on before, so I'm happy about that. And I thought it'd be cool to like do a desert themed kit that wasn't like, hey, here's a giant scorpion. Like, it's obviously on the nose since we have an Arabian style like trader and a camel, but it's not your traditional bad guys that you would think of, like a mummy or like, anything you'd think of in the desert. I wanted it to kind of be like a caravan attack theme or something like that, and I think that really kind of worked out well. But definitely excited about that. So remember, that's going to be hopefully available for you on the 25th. I did have a Patreon class over the weekend. That's going to be the last one that we're doing until after I move. This was the guy that we painted up, though. Justin, you haven't seen this guy. So we decided to do object source lighting from below. So this is the guy that we painted up. This is one of the Bones Black supervillain miniatures. Did some glowing eyes there at the end, but I was showing people how to slowly build in object source lighting or directional lighting without using an airbrush. So this was our basic class for this month. So this is all techniques that aren't fancy or anything crazy for anyone who's relatively new to painting. You can get this knocked out. I think this guy was actually a really quick paint job at like an hour and 20 minutes. And then whenever I am done moving, we have another Patreon class that should be really, really awesome. The Crypt Guard, I believe, skeleton guy, painted by Paul Muller. He is going to also be an OSL one. And then after that, we have some funny sculpts like General Nof and things like that for June. So remember, you can always check out the Patreon, patreon.com/minipaintingstudio. And then remember, too, I know some people, mostly everybody, has either seen the announcement post or just knows that I'm moving. So remember, if you do try and message me about anything over the next few days, this is pretty much the last painting I'm going to do until I'm moved in Oklahoma now. So you probably won't get a hold of me if you need me for something that isn't an emergency at all. But I should be up and ready to roll next Monday. I'll be all moved in. We'll have internet and all that'll be ready to rock and roll. So you shouldn't really notice any difference other than the weird background that I have behind me will be another weird background, but a little bit different. So, but that's everything that I've been up to since the last time you've seen me. We're not going to have, and then I guess too, we're not having a Wednesday show. There may be somebody there, in my place or whatever the case may be, but I'm going to be packing, whacking, and moving and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I think those are all of my major updates. I don't know if anything else has changed for the schedule this week, Justin. Is anything weird happening?
No, I don't think so. Basically, just the show Wednesday is canceled, and we don't have any big ReaperCon updates. I'm hoping here pretty soon, though. We have the ReaperCon 2020 logo to reveal. I've been working on that.
Is it a trash fire, a big dumpster fire?
for the more like a surgical mask, maybe.
Oh, I like that.
But we'll see.
So now I'm taking the scorched metal here, and we're going to coat the axe with it. But I hope all of you are all having a good Monday out there. Hope you had a good weekend as well, for those of you that I didn't see on Saturday. I know I saw quite a few of you as well sharing some images of different Miniature Monday kits you're working through, so that's really cool. I have all of the kits that I'm hoping to set up like on a shelf behind me in the new studio. I think that'd be really cool to have that as like the background with all the other kits. A nice little thing to put on the wall. And then I'm giving my parents the very first kit as a little whatever. I don't think they can put it on the fridge, but they'd probably like to have it. Little memento. So you can tell with this application, right, we went thin. I do want that zenithal to show through just a little bit before we get any other work started. If you have intense brown from the base kit or any sort of regular old warm brown color, go ahead and grab that, and we're going to use that to coat the handle of the axe as well. Oh, there is some cloth on the axe. I forgot about that. With a big enough magnet, it will stick. It's very true. Actually, I bought some. I have kind of hacked moving with miniatures. So I know people obviously know about buying foam, right? And like the pluck foam cases and putting your miniatures in foam. I found an interesting solution that apparently has worked fantastically so far, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. So there's this stuff called nanotape. And essentially what it is, it's this like crazy material that's like stretchy and malleable, but it's super sticky, right? And it can hold a bunch of weight. So what I've been doing is I took a bunch of meal prep containers for all these metal miniatures that I have and stuff that are works in progress, and I line the bottom with this nanotape, and then you put the miniatures on them, and they won't come off. You can flip, like I had one container that was probably 5 pounds with big metal miniatures. You flip it upside down, they don't move an inch, right? And what's funny is to remove it, you just put warm water in the bottom of it, and it completely removes the stickiness from the tape. And so they just come right off as if they aren't stuck to anything. So that I've been super happy about that, because you know you have to pay between $8 and $10 for every little foam thing that you purchase, and I didn't want to have to spend hundreds of dollars to ship and immediately unpack all the miniatures that I have. So, but that's what I have to look forward to now, packing for the rest of my existence, is figuring out where to put a bunch of loose miniatures and then just my clothes. So nothing too crazy. And then of course the computer setup, but I think I'm gonna do that as my final trip. But definitely check that out in case you've been wondering how to do that without a bunch of foam. It seems to work pretty well. Now, if we're looking at the finished version of the boy, you can tell that he's a little bit warmer. We're gonna do that by tinting and washing everything down, firstly with that intense brown, and then we start building in some purple shadows, some noir black shadows, and then we highlight on top. So we're about 6 steps away on the skin, or the fur rather, to being where that finished product is, but we're just waiting for this to dry. Nothing too crazy. I did have it settle in some recesses, but that's pretty much to be expected. Preparing the rest though, first step we need to do is create a wash out of the intense brown. So I'm gonna grab that right here. Actually, I coulda, what? Oh, no, I don't. I took apart my airbrush. I was gonna use it to dry this a little bit faster. Oh, man. I've been trying to be really good about not packing something that I think I may use. Obviously, the airbrush I used to prime this today, but I figured I'd be finished, but that's funny. I'm wondering where I could probably grab those miniatures from the new kit. Let me do that real quick. I'll show them off to you. While we wait for that to dry, oop, I got headphones on. Give me 1 second as I scooch out of here. I got boxes around me. Here we go. Okay, so this is actually what I was talking about here. With these little meal prep containers, I did have to do some research to, oh my gosh. I did have to do some research to find the ones that are like a bit taller. So these are like 3 inches tall, including the lid. But you can see I have them all in here, and they're just kind of stuck, and I can flip it upside down and they're not moving at all. Take the lid off. Here we have the newest minis, and you can see this weird nanotape stuff. It's like sticky, gooey gel. Are you expecting to get the Reaper airbrush? No, I do not need it. Unless Ken wants to give me one for free, I'm not buying one. All right. So here they are. Here are all the minis for the next kit. Let's check them out. Here's our illustrious trader. He's pretty cool. I like the sword and everything, the reflections that we've got going on in the clothing. Got this big guy. Definitely like the freehand. The freehand's not too scary whenever we get to it. And then we've got a big old camel, fun camel. And then the big guy with the big old door shield. But definitely excited about that kit. So you can see I have like random kit minis. Oh, and look at this guy. You guys know this miniature, right? Who's that? Is that Jacob Jansen there in the middle? This one I actually need to ship to Jacob. But I'm not doing that until I'm finished moving. And easy enough, just like that. Boom. Oh, that's funny. Jacob just showed up. But you can see I just put him back in there, flip it upside down, nothing moves. And then what's nice is you put the lid on, and then you can stack them. But I figured this was cheaper because I spent, I think, I spent $40, and I was able to pack, with $40 worth of materials, I was able to pack about 300 miniatures. And if I was doing foam cases, I would have had to have spent probably like $100 rather than 40. So I think it's probably a good little trick to have in the old playbook. All right, now then, this is relatively dry, and I have the chat box right in the middle of my screen. Here we go. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take this intense brown wash, and we're just gonna use it to tint everything we've already done here. You don't necessarily want it to pool up in the shadows, but you do want it to pool up in a glaze fashion in some of the lowered areas. Gravity will do the work for you. You just want to make sure you have an even surface tension as you apply it. Let's see. Nomad, if you would like, I can add it to the Amazon store whenever we're done here. That is what I got it off of. See, I need more of this color though. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna go ahead and apply this on the legs as well, down at the bottom. Obviously, this is all a lot darker, and it's only gonna get darker as we apply more and more wash, but still want them to be tinted a little bit with this color. The reason why I didn't just mix this color in with the shield brown is that I want that variance in tone, and I also want a little bit of the shield brown to separate from this color. It needs to be subtle for it to be most effective. Shield brown is also what I would consider like a cool brown. It's very neutral. Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, you guys can go buy it right now, whatever you want. If you want to throw me a few extra pennies for no extra cost on your end, you can do it by following my Amazon link if you want to purchase it. Or if you don't want to do that to help me out, then yeah, you can just buy it on your own. That's fine if you are not wanting to wait for me to do it. So we're just going to wait for this to dry.
And actually, technically, if they follow your link and then go and find it themselves, wouldn't that still work, or would it?
Yeah, it's this. It all works the same. But if you want the because there's a lot of meal prep containers on there, so if you want the exact ones that I got that are like 3 inches tall, then I don't know what the name of them are. You can search, but there are plenty. Like I have probably 3 different versions that I bought through them for that exact purpose and organization, and those are the biggest ones that I've found. So, I mean,
I see. Okay.
You can try and find it, but I just don't know. Now the nano tape comes in I forget what it's called. It's only available in like 9-foot and 16-foot, I believe. So as long as it's that brand, it's the same one that I got. I know there are multiple brands. But I just know that it's not like, you know, there's no specific name. It's a very weird name for a company. And then they like send me there's like a business card in the packaging that says like, we live in a time that's hard to connect, or like some weird thing. I don't even know. All right, so we're gonna let this dry. Now then, one thing we can do is go ahead and do the wash on the axe. So I'm gonna take some of the royal purple and then some noir black to make a purple wash. Ooh. Get that on the palette. So you can see I've done more of this sort of, I added a little bit of the noir black to make it kind of dark. And then I'm just gonna wash this on top of the scorched metal here. Just like that. Here we are. All right, so the next color that we're gonna use essentially will be our, what is this? Our muddy, do we want muddy brown or do we want the earth brown? So we're gonna go with earth brown first, mix with a little bit of the noir black. So I'm gonna start building that over here. The earth brown is pretty much a darker version of the shield brown, and we're gonna use that more. Really, we used it in the skin last time, more so on the fairy that we did, or the sylph, I guess. But I wanted to use that before we used the muddy brown. So I'm gonna make a wash with this. Pretty much 1 part noir black, 2 parts of the other. Mix it up, there we are. All right, I'll get started here on the back. I'm just gonna be using the structure of the back itself to start the application. So the underside of all these big old bulging fur muscles here. So I'm gonna start layering this in. Shouldn't be very noticeable on camera yet. Everything's still wet, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. But I know it's safe for me to go in here with this color currently just because of the consistency of the wet paint that is still there. Typically, if you have something that's like 50% dry and you're gonna go back in with a darker shade, you can always apply it right then. You don't have to wait. The reason I'm going back in with this color too before applying anything else is that this is a nice neutral base for wherever we start to apply the darker shadows to then go in and reveal the detail in the recesses. Here we go. So we're gonna let this start to dry. Then I'll put some of this muddy brown onto the palette right here. I'm actually gonna get a little bit more because I know that it's gonna get real dark real fast. There we go. And then I'm gonna I'm gonna wash this down with a little bit of the noir black. Make it deep. There we go. See, it's a really, really deep brown here. Some water in there. And I do want to wait for this application to dry. Similar to the wings on the Sylph, right? We didn't want to just jump in there all crazy. All right. You can see how that purple application looks when you apply it to the scorched metal. It's a really, really nice way to accent bronze and brass. Sometimes gold, mostly I would say only like deeper shades of gold metallic. I don't really like the purple on like a really bright gold. I think it just looks weird. And depending on the gold, it can start to look green, depending on the quality of the pigment used in the gold. So like New Gold by Reaper 09051, if you were to apply purple to it, it looked super ugly. There's no question. If you applied it to, instead of New Gold, Antique Gold, which is 905 compared to 9051, that one will look a lot better because there's more of a reddish color mixed in. So that just kind of gives you an idea, right? And then obviously the scorched metal is super dark, so it doesn't matter. It'll just play in as more of a shadow. But now that we have some of this stuff drying, I'm gonna go ahead and start going in around the face and dropping it in. And actually I want that to be darker, so I'm gonna get more the noir black out as I drop the poor bear on his side. There we go. There we go, much better. All right, so I'm gonna go into the cheeks. All the way under the chin. Cheeks on the other side. Peck here on the left, sort of outlining and then shading it in that way. And you can see how drastic of a difference it makes when you start doing it. Over on this side with his arm that's covering the belly a little bit. After this application, we'll go in with a little bit of purple as well before we go and start building in all of our highlights. Now I'm going in underneath his necklace and the objects that are hanging beneath it. And I had to go back in and actually like outline this one more time, but all right, his arm over here. Start rotating it around as we build in the shadows. Really just following the muscles. Up underneath the ear there. Now then, going back in close to the same areas we did the first time around. Whenever I'm doing something that's, well, I say that, whenever I'm doing something that is predominantly all fur, I typically like to go with either the middle color or the brightest color first, and then work my way down like this. That way, whenever I'm doing my highlights, I don't have to worry about the texture that I want the fur to be. I just worry about highlighting the colors correctly. And then, you know, my last application, second to last application of highlight, I then go back through and sort of manually punch in different highlight colors. I think it makes it just a little bit faster. Now, if I want to spend lots of time, then yeah, I'll go in and highlight up and do the implied fur and all that stuff. Pretty much the entire process. But for a tabletop level guy like this, or like the paint jobs we do here, quick and dirty ones, I always go for the tried and true method. The reason I was kind of joking about saying that, obviously we have the camel to paint, and that camel, we do a little bit of complete freehand fur on the neck just because it's smooth, and it helps it separate it out, but it's not too insane. I know one of the comments already somebody left after I showed off the new kit was they were intimidated by the freehand, and like you guys should not be really intimidated by much with that kit. It should be very, very simple. Really, I feel like the hardest one to paint is going to be probably the camel or the ogre that's in all the armor, just because it's sort of like one note. It's not very, you know, there's not a lot of difference in it. All right, so we've got all of our shadows sort of sketched in place here. So we're gonna let these dry before going in with a little bit of purple. So comparing the two, you can see we're pretty much in that deep shadow state before going in and doing all of our highlighting. Just building things in slowly over time. Really, I'm looking forward to next Monday, even more so because I feel like this paint job is going to be the exciting one for everybody. He has the really fair skin, the cool sort of vine weapon that we got going on there. This guy's a lot of fun. And then the centaur.
I like that green. I like that a lot.
You like that green. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the royal purple and just mix it in with the same color that we had mixed right now. Just a brush tip full. And then in the deepest shadows, I'm going to go back in while it's still wet and layer in some of the purpley tone. I don't want it to be super obvious, so you can obviously push the color as well a little bit more if you want it to appear to be more purple than brown. I just want it to be really warm, and that way it'll help sort of create more contrast with the ivory highlight color that we're going to be using to mix in quite a bit. Since the ivory color is such a warm, neutral tone, it'll help bring out the shade of purple a lot more. That's why I don't need it to be super intense. You can go as intense as you want, though. It's obviously not going to look like a purple bear by any means, but that's why I'm going in with the purple currently. And you can tell as well, it probably didn't even look purple. It's mostly just a very deep sort of, it's almost like a deep purpley gray. But it's the thought that counts when you're doing the subtle stuff. Typically when you're working with subtle color, it's the end result that pays off. But I think we're good for now, so I'm just gonna let all this dry. I'm actually gonna use this same dark wash color to wash down the handle of the axe. We can, I mean, if you want to, let's go ahead and just use it on his outfit. Add more some dimension there. I'm probably gonna highlight this up a lot more too. Are you using one of the synthetic brushes? No, Jeffrey. So I only use DaVinci Maestro brushes. Those are also on the Amazon store. The bulk Chinese synthetic brushes are really nice though. I use those for basing. I do, like, if I'm teaching, doing anything like that. They're really not bad. Actually, you can see I have a destroyed one right here that I used to do basing. One happy choice. But what's nice about these is that they'll typically, on average, retain a perfect point for you for, like, I don't know, I would say maybe like 8 hours worth of painting at a time, or really 8 to like 12. I've had a lot of people buy them and tell me like they can use one brand new out of the package for maybe, you know, 4 painting sessions before they notice a any type of like bend or fray or anything strange. I mean, even this guy, even though he's beat, let's see how bad it is. I mean, it's not too bad of a point. Like, it's still serviceable. But what's cool is after they start to go bad, you can just snap it in half because you paid, I don't know, cents for one of them. But they're a great deal, and I still recommend them to people all the time that, you know, do a lot of painting, but only want to have like a nicer brush or whatever to do their sort of final work with. But they're not bad brushes by any means. All right. So now we're just going to be waiting for that to dry. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take our metal color here that we started with, and I'm going to begin highlighting. Do the top side of the axe, and then down towards the middle here, you can see the highlight starts to pick back up. And then the bottom body part of the blade, not the edge. Now there is a portion you need to go back and retouch there. There we go. All right, let's go to the other side. Same highlight pattern. All right. You may also want to overbrush on the side here on this texture, like that. Help bring out some of that detail. And right on the middle section, you can overbrush there as well. Hopefully that little purple wash, though, makes sense with the color that we're using. I mean, it really accentuates everything. Makes the weapon look pretty cool. And we're going to go back with the gold, ancient gold color on top at the end. Or really, we can probably do that now where everything waits. The beads, I'm also going to paint the scorched metal color. You can pick whatever you want, though. I'm just sticking to our limited palette, so if you want to do cool different beads, whatever you want, throw it on there, but I'm just kind of sticking with the kit stuff. Painter's choice. You can see all those shadows that we built in are now drying, though. We've got a nice highlight structure to work on top of once we're ready to do that. I'll go ahead and grab the antique gold color here for the final highlights on the big old axe. Drop it on the palette there. All right, so I'm going to focus on the right-hand side of the top blade edge for the antique gold highlight. Put a little bit going towards the left, but I really just want it on the right-hand side. We're going to do sort of like a yin-yang on the highlight to make it look more realistic towards the bottom. So you can see that highlight there, looks really nice. On the bottom part, we're going to do the left. Bottom left is where we're focusing this highlight, and you can tell why I said that yin-yang. We want one on the right, one on the bottom. It'll just be visually more intriguing as he's tilting the axe. The tip of the axe down towards the ground is what's going to cause that. There you go. You can see it right there. Then on the interior portion on the center, just highlight up right in the middle using the antique gold. Just like that. There we go. All right, so now we'll do the interior top edge here. Top edge of the axe. And then we'll do the opposite on this side. So we're gonna do the right-hand side. Well, I guess yeah, it is the opposite. So we're doing the right-hand side as the side we wanna highlight up with the gold. Going back for a second application to make sure it's nice and bright. And gonna go ahead and do the center. And the top of the back. We're not gonna worry about that side because it's not gonna be picking up light like the front is. But I think it looks really nice. Take the same color and highlight up all the beads here. Make sure they're nice and shiny. All right. Now then, what we're gonna do is we're going to change things up, actually. I'm gonna change the order I wanna do this in. So we're gonna focus on the cloth that he's wearing. It's still a little bit wet, but we're gonna start off with our earth brown color, and then you're gonna get out the ivory as well. We're gonna use that to mix in and mix up our highlight. Oh, not the right color. There we go. Remember, just like Darth Abacus Bot says, you can get a free Twitch Prime subscription by linking your Amazon Prime account, assuming you got it. You can click that subscribe button and link it there, and it will show you all the steps that you need to take to do that. And then, remember, if you have done it in the past, to click on it and see what it says, because it will not automatically renew a subscription for you. You have to manually do that every single time yourself. So just double check if you're unsure when yours runs up. Got a wild hair on that brush. The number 2 brush that I'm using right now is not a nice one. It's kind of like my beater blunt application brush. I do have the number 1 next to me whenever I'm ready for that. Boom, there you go, rings. It always helps to double check when your time is up. All right, so I'm gonna take this, whatever it is, earth brown, there we go. I'm gonna start highlighting up all of our cloth here. Now this cloth is nice and easy. It's about the size of a brush in terms of the tip of every little plateau of all these folds. So that makes it super easy for you to do your job and hit every single one of them. Obviously, it's a dry brushable area if you are a dry brushing person, but I'm confident everybody should be able to go in and hit every one of the folds manually as we start to apply the highlight. Applying this color here on the front. Oop, no hat club, sorry. Now, I know everything's kind of hard to see if you've been following along at home, or if you're re-watching this on YouTube to paint later. All your tones are very similar, so just pay attention to what you're highlighting. Shouldn't be too hard once you get started, but especially right here underneath his hand, it's kind of confusing where the big fur belly stops and the big fur belly cover begins. That's kind of the only tricky portion here, but it shouldn't be too bad. Once we let this dry, we'll add in some of the creamy ivory to start highlighting it up. I think we're going to go a lot brighter than I did originally as well. Every time we repaint one of these, I feel like it just gets brighter, or there's better color, or something is improved the second time I paint the paint job, which is pretty typical. Anybody that's done a rank and file army knows it does get easier the more troops and duders you start painting in your army. All right, I'm gonna add in a brush tip full of this paint into the brown we were using. Actually, I'm gonna switch over to the size 1. Quit being an animal. Quit being an animal. Arthur's like, but it's my favorite thing to do. All right. Now we got the pointy brush here. Start on the back again. Now then, I'm gonna focus on really highlighting it more so down the middle. So that's where I'm gonna be pulling everything in. Sure, I'm getting all the edge there on the top. Back down towards the middle here. Down the middle in this bottom section, which is where I want to focus most of the efforts. So we continue to highlight. All right. Flip it over. We can do the side here. Oh, and thanks for all of the awesome feedback on the pirate crew idea. There was a lot of feedback on that shield. So I'm excited to keep working on that project. I know a lot of people are looking forward to the craziness that we can get involved with. I already started doing pinstripe pants, and then I have a crazy freehand pattern on her shirt. So we're going to be doing all kinds of technique all over those minis. Highlighting up the edge here on the bottom. Actually, yo, that's so funny you just said that in the chat. I was gonna say that's one of the things I'm looking forward to most. Oh man. You win for the best comment of the day. That's so great.
That's solid.
I looked up to make that comment, so I'm so glad you said it. That's hilarious. Yeah, I feel like I'm so close to the move day that I feel like I'm wasting time, if that makes sense. Have you ever done stuff like, do you know that feeling I'm talking about, Justin, where you're like, I've done so much packing and I've done so much stuff that I'm kind of like, all right, well, all I can do is just wait to actually move on the day, but I'm like ready to go.
Oh, see, I guess I'm so used to the, I don't know how to put this delicately, but the type of moving where I'm packing and moving on the same day.
Oh, yeah, no, I feel you.
So, very, very little experience do I have with actually, like, preparing. I had enough of time, like, in advance that I pack and then it sits there for any, like, longer than 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when I moved out of Oklahoma City, that was like, I started to prepare for it, but it really did come down to like packing the day that I was making the first trip, and then coming back packing more. It was just ugh. But I also got rid of so many of my possessions when I moved that it was just kind of like, it was more like the packing was, do I toss this or do I keep it type of thing. But this time around, I have had enough time, so now I'm very impatient. But the fastest I've ever packed and moved, I moved into a place with a coworker, and this was when I was teaching, but I was also working with a startup out in, well, it was in Austin and San Francisco at the time. And so they were like, hey, we're going out to San Francisco for a month, and we need you to be there the whole time. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I moved into the place. I had Arthur there, and things got weird. So it was kind of like, it was one of those things where they said that they had permission from the landlord for Arthur to be able to be there, but they never asked. And so then they got really freaked out, and they like, I caught them a couple times doing weird stuff with him, like not letting him sit places, or like putting tin foil on top of things so he wouldn't sit on furniture. And like, he's obviously confused because he's never not been able to sit where he wants, you know. It was just very odd, and they would never do it when I was around, so they were like hiding it from me kind of thing. And that's, if it's not your pet, like you can't just do stuff, you know. That's not cool with me. And so I was already kind of suspicious, and I had I gave my key to one of my friends, and my new two roommates, it was a engaged couple. They, you know, she I knew her from work, and her fiance seemed like just a decent person, whatever. But they started doing this, and I was getting really weirded out. And like, they did this whole thing where she was like, oh, I can't wait for you to move in because you have so much cool art and yada yada yada. We can, you know, put it in throughout the house. And I remember like, I moved in. I was only there for a few days before I ended up going on this trip. But like, I put some stuff around the house, and like I came home and they had just taken it all down and set it by the stairs. So like, they didn't even like have a discussion like, oh, well, we thought actually it didn't look that good here, or like whatever the case was. They just put it by the stairs. And I'm like, okay, so that was red flag number 2. And then they were used to no one being home throughout the day. So they turned the AC off, and then they would turn it on and crank it at like 60 when they got home, when the house was like 89 degrees. So it made no sense, right? And I was home all day. And so I started getting worried, and I was like, hey, you know, you guys can't like leave the AC off when I'm gone because Arthur's here. And like, he can't just sit in 90-degree weather. Like, that's not okay. And they're like, well, all right, we'll try. So sure enough, we were on this trip, and I had my friend come by the house when I knew that neither of the people were going to be there. And I was like, hey, just see what they're doing. You know, I just want to, since I just moved in, I don't know what the deal is. And so he goes inside, and they had put tinfoil on every single piece of furniture, every chair, every little thing, so that Arthur couldn't sit anywhere in the house. And then they had closed Arthur in my bedroom. They just closed him in completely, and it smelled like rotting cat food, like rotting wet cat food, because what they did was they were feeding him every day, but they weren't cleaning out the wet food, and they were just letting it like fester in the bowl. And I'd only been gone for 3 days, and there was already fruit fly, like maggots, in the food bowl, and they just kept dumping new food on top, and then they hadn't changed his litter box, and so it smelled like the inside of, you know, whatever. And so as soon as I heard about that, I told my boss what was happening, and he himself and I flew back to Oklahoma City immediately that night. It was like, my friend went over there at like noon, told me what was going on, took pictures and stuff, and we were on a plane at like 6:40 at night. And so we get there, and I stay with him that night with my boss, and then the next day, we just straight up like ambushed the house with, I think we had like 200 employees that we were using to do concierge and like all kinds of different stuff at properties all over Oklahoma City. So we just like went to a hospital and that had some extra staff that day. And then we went to like valets and stuff, not like nurses. And then we went to I think a Hilton that we did concierge stuff with. And we took like 6 guys in a truck, and we packed all of my belongings in like 30 minutes flat. And then drove around, found an apartment complex, and signed, like literally applied, had the lease signed and everything, and then moved in the same day in 24 hours. It was just absolutely crazy. But we told them my situation, and like, you know, I was there with like a whole crew of people, and I was like, yeah, I work from home, I do this, I do that, like I just need a place to stay immediately. And they were like, no problem. Now, of course, that apartment turned into a nightmare by the time I moved, but I've definitely done the, hey, it's time to pack everything and move in the exact same day, and it was very stressful. But
also, fun fact too, my dad has been in HVAC, or like heating and air, for the last like 30 years. That's his career, and he has told me hundreds of times that you can turn your thermostat up, but you are not ever supposed to turn it off.
yeah,
Like you're never supposed. It's either supposed to be in heating or cold at some point in time. You just need to adjust your temperature to be above a certain threshold.
yeah,
Because you're going to consume more electricity and lock up your unit if you try to then go, okay, it's 89 degrees, cool to 68. It won't work.
yeah.
You'll just cause damage and eat up electricity, and it's just bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. Since I'm never gonna speak with these people ever again, so here's the funniest part. Thank you, Renru.
Yeah, thank you for the raid there, Renru.
So,
Awesome.
I'll put it this way. They kept saying the landlord, when really what they meant to say was my dad. Not my dad, but their dad, because the landlord was their parent, and they were just renting from them, but they never told me this, right, to begin with. And that's why they were like so weird about, you know, whatever, like not asking about the cat and then telling me it was fine and whatever. So what's even better is that their parent lived in a $7 million home in the most expensive neighborhood in Oklahoma City, and they had like old money. I think they did like restaurant catering and stuff, or I don't even know how to describe it, but like some type of restaurant work. And you can tell how we've been doing this highlight as I've been talking. I'm just following the actual cloth itself. I'm gonna do it on this side too. So their parents were super loaded, right? And like they just didn't really know a lot about life. Hence, they thought it was cool to do that to my cat. Now, here's the funniest thing on the planet, okay? They never had ice because their fridge didn't have a built-in ice machine. So what they would do is they would just buy a bag of ice and then just let it run out, and then like days later buy a new bag of ice. Like they just never had ice. Now, everything I drink, I put ice in. I'm one of those people. And so that would drive me crazy, right? So I go and I buy an ice tray so that we can have some ice cubes. And then I buy the little bucket that you dump them into so you can keep making more ice cubes so you don't run out of ice cubes, right? And one day, one of the roommates is there, and they ask, they're watching me empty the ice cubes into the bucket thing. And they look at me and they go, all right, I have a question, but don't judge me. And I'm like, oh God, this is gonna be so good because this is how these people were. And they go, how do you keep the ice cubes from freezing to each other in the bucket after you take them out of the ice cube tray? And I look at them and I go, well, they're already frozen. So how are they gonna freeze to each other? I don't think we spoke for the rest of the day. It was pretty embarrassing. But that also tells you...
because the primary way that works for like a dispenser and a machine is that it doesn't quite. They're like 95% frozen when it dumps them, and then that's why it uses that metal churner in there to like break them up.
Yeah.
So to your point, when you put them in a tray and freeze them all the way, they don't ever defrost enough to create moisture to freeze together.
Yeah, unless you're leaving. Yeah, I definitely judge them for that, Barry. There's always money in the banana stand. That's very true. But that, you know, little things like that. I mean.
Oh gosh, that's a reference I haven't heard in a hot minute. That's quality.
Little things like that were all these red flags I was running into when I lived there so briefly. Oh, even funnier. I forget exactly when I moved in. They were like, gosh, what was it? I think I don't remember exactly how they phrased it, but it was like they called it a move-in deposit, right? And then when I move out, I'm like, hey, I want my deposit back, right? Like, can I get my money, please? And then they were like, oh, okay, well, the landlord has to come in and do a move-out inspection. And I'm like, oh, you mean your dad? Because you didn't talk about this at all, right? And they're like, oh, well, they're gonna, you know, my dad's out of town. He's not gonna be back for 2 weeks, and then he'll write you a check. You can send it in the mail. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm definitely not playing this game. You can write me a check yourself for $200. And so I stood there as they called their parent on the phone to beg for $200 to pay the deposit. I was just like, this was the worst idea I've ever done in my life. So bad. But yeah, don't mess with my animal, man. That's like, you mess with poor innocent old Arthur, you got problems. Of course I say that as I yell at him nearly daily for meowing out of control whenever he's hungry. But that's, if you own a cat, you know that's part of the game.
See, my cat isn't very vocal, which is odd for Siamese. But she does this thing where, like, she's actually kind of passive-aggressive about it. Like, when I get up and I know that it's, like, wet food time in the morning, because that's when she gets her wet food, no matter where I walk in the house, she sprints at 100 miles an hour right past me. Like, it's to get into my vision and then sail past me, and then she slows down and then kind of, like, nonchalantly looks at me. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to walk towards the bathroom now. And she just comes sprinting past me again. She doesn't meow. She just zooms around in front of me.
Right.
She doesn't try to trip me. It's like she becomes Speed Racer until I realize, oh yeah, it's food time.
Yeah, Arthur literally will do everything in his power to not break things, but he'll chew on any cardboard or plastic he can find to make himself sick, to then be like, see, I'm throwing up because I need to be fed. Like, that's his game. And then he also will meow every single second, nonstop, for hours on end until you feed him. So, and then if you're yelling at him to shut up and you're like trying to go find him, he will run from you top speed across the house. And when he runs, he gallops. And then when he gallops, he does this weird little chirp. So it'll be like all through the house.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's so funny.
My cat does that chirp too.
He just all through the house. And you're like, oh, Arthur's in a mood. Or he does like the murder meow, where it's like, and I'm like, oh my god, Arthur, what are you doing, dude? And he's like, I haven't eaten since 10 minutes ago with the crunchy food, but I don't want the crunchy food now.
That's exactly how it is.
It's like he starts eating crunchy food and he goes, hey, wait a minute, don't I have something better than this? Alright. Finished with the clothing. Body's all dry. Ready to rock and roll as we finish up the fur. So, I'm gonna flip my palette. We need a whole new world here. Oh my gosh, the water's gonna pour out. Oh no, don't do it. Here we go. Look at my nasty wet palette. Look, we got. Just look at this. We got old blue tack. Shout out to the old blue tack. I don't know how long this has been in here, but it's old. Here we've got Bones sprue. I believe War Pugs were on the Bones sprue that you see right here. We got old paint. There's a piece of metal somewhere in here as well. Oh, look, here we have an old super glue applicator. We're doing really good in wet palette land. Don't worry about it. But that's how you know I just take the sponge out whenever I need to clean it. All right. Yeah, before I found that nanotape, my plan was to actually buy a bunch of blue tack and then put it in containers, but then the nanotape just really sealed the deal. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our intense brown first. We're gonna use this to start doing our sort of basic highlight layers. Now remember, like I said, I'm not concerned with the detail. I'm not concerned with the brush strokes at this point. What I'm looking for is just sort of highlighting things up, because that allows me to then go back in later on and manually do that. Let's just double check that I'm not gonna like go crazy here. Okay, cool. So, just like we always do, regardless of texture, whenever we're doing highlight work on any kind of musculature, I'm pushing my highlight to the closest shadow edge. So you can see I'm doing that here. And I'm just sort of doing looser, less refined brush strokes here. I don't want it to be super smooth, but I'm just keeping in mind the actual highlight structure that I want. Sort of this weird jowl section. Jowl? Ooh. Top of the neck here too, yeah. Go ahead and put that on your bingo card. I'll readjust my focal point. There we go. There it is. I was waiting to see Andre. We're gonna ray around to the nose here, the mouth. Under the eye a little bit, and I will highlight up a little bit around the side underneath the chin there. All right. Got some arms here. We're going right to the bare arms. Immediately, the stream gets shut down for going political. So again, just applying it at the top of every muscle, nearest the shadow edge that we're trying to highlight up. Same is true up underneath the little rope necklace. Oh, they're just bare arms? Yeah, these are bare arms. Okay. Arm over here. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the shield brown and we're gonna get the creamy ivory back out as we build up our highlights. We're gonna be mixing it into the intense brown that we just applied. So it's gonna be a little bit of a balancing act here. Here we are. Okay, so we're just going to be reapplying this. As you can see, it barely makes a difference in the highlight structure that we have, but it's accentuating everything. I'm pretty positive that you guys should be able to do this at home.
Oh, I'm groaning so hard.
Where's my mute button for Justin? Here it is. It's right over here. We're just gonna... All right, we never have to listen to him again. No, my...
So I know all your stuff is packed up, or most of it is, right? Like the without being all of your streaming set up. Have you been playing any sort of video games lately? We usually have these talks every couple of weeks.
So Sydney hasn't had internet at her place since like the beginning of this month, and because she couldn't. Pretty much all these places are like, oh no, you can't transfer your roommate's account into your name and things like that. So she hasn't had internet, and then she couldn't sign up for any because they're like, it's only AT&T, and AT&T is like, if you cancel, we charge you like $300. So that's been interesting figuring out what we can do. But she finally got her neighbor's Wi-Fi password because she told her neighbor like, yo, I don't have any internet, can you please hook me up for the next week or whatever. And we played a little bit of Diablo again last night, but we've been playing. All right, what is it? So first of all, right now on Humble Bundle they have a board game bundle, which is really cool. And it's got like Small World 2 Patchwork, it's got Carcassonne, it's got Love Letter, all these board games. So we grabbed that. We haven't played anything out of that. I actually gave my CD key of Carcassonne, because I already have it, to Collins, because that was the game that we all played at game night at his house. So hopefully he'll use it. But we've been playing a little bit of Carcassonne. We always do. That's kind of like our in-between game. If we've been playing something and we just want to break, we'll play a round of Carcassonne. And what's cool is that it's not platform specific, so she can play, like she can use her phone and not be on her computer, and I can be on my computer, and we can still play, which is cool.
Ooh, that is handy.
Yeah, really, really nice. And what's cool about the way they structure the games is that you can even do a game where it's like, you start playing, we stop playing, you randomly take a turn on your phone, and then I can't take a turn until I'm back on my computer, and it just keeps the game going for up to 24 hours, which is cool. And then we've been doing Overcooked 2 off and on still. And then on, I believe, I forget which website it is, but Grip Combat Racing, because we've been trying to find a good sort of like arcade-style racing game, and we were playing Blaze Rush, which is still fun, but it's very limited and basic. So this game's crazy because Grip Combat Racing, because it has like all your typical upgrades like machine guns and rockets and all that stuff, speed boosts, whatever. But it's also like multi-directional racing. So like if your race car somehow lands on the ceiling, like you then just race on the ceiling. It's kind of hard to describe. It's like multi-gravity directional stuff. And then it's also VR enabled. Neither of us do VR stuff, but if that's ever a thing in the future, you can also use VR to play it. But so we were playing that. It's relatively difficult just because it's, you know, you're just learning a new racing game, and there are certain, what's weird is we're like, you know, what's funny is we're like, all right, we're used to games where it's like you just got to go fast to get in first place. But what's funny is in that game, the actual race courses kind of make it to where you can't just go fast. If you go top speed the entire time, you're falling off the edge of the world, or you're like slamming into things. So you really have to kind of look at the road ahead of you and make sure you're not going to die. But so we've been playing that a little bit off and on, and then we've also been doing the whole Animal Crossing thing as well. I mean, obviously, Sydney has had way more time than I have on it. So I don't really have anything going on. I think I've got like 3 days worth of gameplay, like literally in the game, not like hours. I know she has about 75 hours in that game, and she's had it for like a month. But
oh, wow.
Yeah, she's been really knocking it out. But it's so simple too to just hop in and hop out, hop in. You know, you can just play and leave real quick. But I'm assuming we'll be playing more of that whenever we're finally moved in and everything, which we have. The internet box and everything already. It's the self-activation, so you just call them to get your service activated. So the second we're there, we can sit down and give them a call. We've got internet, which was kind of my biggest worry, was like, are we gonna have to wait for somebody to come out and plug it into the wall and then be like, all right, it's all set up? But luckily we didn't have to do that this time around. But yeah.
So I actually picked up Animal Crossing this last weekend. How much about that do you know?
What do you mean, like about the game?
Yeah, so like I've only heard about how it's played essentially, and I played a little bit. I think it was yesterday or Saturday, and I'm trying not to go, what the hell is all of this about? But like, it feels to me like I don't know what to do in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out what its purpose is.
Well, so the purpose is that, from what I get, is that you're building a town or this island, and the villagers will come to your town and settle as well, and then you just live and collect stuff and build stuff and whatever. So there are like over 400 different people that can come and potentially live on your island, and every one of those people has like different special things that they do, or like they'll give you, or that they offer. So there's like all of this content that can or maybe won't happen on your island and your playthrough, depending on what you're doing. And then for the game itself, like at the beginning, you really are just like collecting trash and objects and selling them, and then collecting stuff to give to that Nook dude, Tom Nook, until he like starts giving you new things or offers to like upgrade your house to a real house. Like essentially you just get on, you do stuff, you get off, and every day it's something different. Cause yeah, I know Sydney knows like all about it. And then, you know, she'll be like, oh my God, one of my favorite villagers showed up on my island today, and I still had a slot left, so I think they're gonna live here, and you know, da-da-da-da-da. And that's kind of like what you do, is you just play through it as more and more people come live on your town, and then you can unlock stuff like terraforming, and you can design, you know, the clothes that you're wearing, and like all kinds of different stuff like that.
So can I make my island bigger then? Is that... Because it feels like with 400 people coming to live on the island...
No. So it's you only get so many people that will come live on your island, and it's out of 400. So it's like a huge randomized selection, essentially. And then you can travel to other islands as well. I don't know if you can like live on those too or not. But I know that like you'll travel, like Sydney goes to other islands. You can visit other people's islands and hang out with them. So like you could come to my place and hang out, and then like I don't know if you can use your tools on my island. Like I don't know. I'm still completely in the dark about it all. Sydney's the one that knows all about it. But
okay, so you're kind of like me then.
Yeah, does Kinsey play it? Or Kinsley? Sorry.
Oh, McKaylee?
McKaylee.
No.
Why am I saying Kinsley? That's dumb.
I mean, it's close enough. Why not? We'll go with that.
It's someone I haven't met before, so that's probably why.
So, no, I told her that she might like it this weekend, and she probably will end up playing it at some point, and she will likely like it. But yeah, I was just trying to figure out what it was about this weekend, and kind of, I know that it gates a lot of stuff behind actual time, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It's like you literally hit a wall at some point, you have to just log off and not play it anymore. But, unless you go in and, of course, and change your time like some people do, like your in-game time.
Right.
But I'm not interested in doing any of that.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't... I wasn't too worried about it this week just because anytime I can get on is like at night. And so like it's just nighttime in the game. And I'm like, nah, I'll just wait. Oh yeah, John's in the chat. So John says 8 villagers in your town out of 400 options. And then I think you can like make somebody leave. I know people will leave on their own as well. They'll be like, I'm out of here. This place sucks. And you're like, oh no, okay, bye.
Yeah, because one thing I noticed on Sunday was, because I played most of it Sunday after the Mother's Day stuff. I noticed that I ran out of tree branches on my island that I had access to. So I was like, all right, well, I don't know what I do now. Like, I guess I just log off. Like, this is great.
Are you shaking the trees to get tree branches?
Do you shake trees to get tree branches?
There you go.
All right, well then never mind. There we go.
Yeah, so like you can walk up to every tree and shake it, and sometimes bees will come out and like ruin your life. Sometimes money drops. Sometimes, yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. One of the villagers that I tried to kick off my island was because that's the thing is I was trying to play this like it was Ark. I was like, I don't want these 2 people here. Get them the hell off my island. I'm gonna populate the whole thing.
Right.
But one of them said something about hornets or something, and I was like, I'll be honest, I skipped past a lot of dialogue. I probably shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll get stung and like you'll pass out and they have to give you medicine. And then you can also, once you get, like you can build an axe. And once you build an axe, you then start collecting wood and you can build more and more and more stuff. So yeah, you just gotta like start going through all those different steps.
But everyone's island has got its own like specialty type stuff, so that like you could talk to your friends and be like, "Oh man, I've got this stuff," and then
yeah. So like, what fruit do you have on your island?
Apples, I believe.
So I don't have apples. I have peaches. So that would be one of the reasons why you come see me, because you want peaches.
Perfect. We start fruit exchanging.
Yep.
What villagers did you get?
So I have one guy that is like a workout bro. And he's like, what's up, bro? He's like a blue deer or something. And then I've got some chick that's a squirrel with a unibrow. And she keeps saying "uni-wow" at everything. She's like, "uni-wow," or like, I don't even know. But she seemed nice. But then every time I keep trying to talk to her, she's like, really? I'm busy. And she won't talk to me. So I wouldn't feel too bad if she disappeared. But like Sydney has crazy people. She's got like octopus people. I mean, her village is weird, man. But that's the thing with the terraforming. You can like, you know how you can't really go anywhere because it's separated by water. You can just jump across the water with a pole vault, and then you can also like you can make one of those, and then you can make bridges, and you can connect your entire island and like restructure it and reshape it eventually too. So.
Dude, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm just curious how long it takes to get to that point.
Yeah, I think if you're playing a little bit every day, it will just all kind of just start happening.
Okay. Well, I've got, I don't know who my who my island mates are, whatever the hell they're called. I've got a duck guy. I know that. He's got a duck. I just know he's a duck. And then the other one is purple. I think I remember her name. I don't know what she is. I remember her name because it reminded me of the Overwatch character, but I think it's Diva.
Diva.
Yeah, her name is Diva. I don't know.
And I know some of the characters too are really weird. Like some are like, one of them I saw looked like a ghost. Like there's all kinds of weird. Like they'll be wearing weird outfits or they just look crazy. They'll offer you different things. Like Sydney was trying to tell me that there's some dude that's like a con artist that shows up and tries to sell you knockoff artwork for your house. Like it's just kind of like, all right.
Oh, that's wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess when it comes down to me actually knowing what the hell I'm doing on the game, everyone in chat is welcome to visit my island. I'll let you guys do that. But you got to bring all your specialty fruit and drop it off. That's the fee.
Yeah, you gotta give us your fruits.
Give us your fruits.
All right, so now I'm gonna do.
Is that what I want? Do I want fruit? Is that how this works?
I think so. I don't know. No, you want radishes. I think that's what everybody wants is these radishes. That's what they keep talking about. Radish prices. So like one person will have like better radish prices, like your friend will, and so he's a fox who sells art out of his shady boat. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, or not radishes, turnips is what they want. And so like one day your turnip price might be really trashy, but mine will be like really high, so you'll come visit me to sell turnips.
Oh, and how do you know what those prices are?
I think there's a lady like every day that sells turnips, so you have to like go see her once she shows up on your island or something. I don't know.
I guess it's hard for me to envision that level of where the game can go because I'm still in a tent. So...
Yeah, me too. I'm in like the crappiest tent with a workbench and no room for anything else. And like I just barely built the workbench because I just figured out I could slam my axe against rocks to get iron. So
there you go. Like this is how you get iron, right?
Yep. So what I'm doing now. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So what I'm doing right now is I've mixed in a little bit more of the ivory, and I'm going to be doing these brighter highlights that we can then tint down with another wash with the intense brown. And that's it. All right. What was your question? What were you saying?
Oh no, I was going to comment that Margaret said that market was called the Stalk Market.
Oh, I see.
More groans.
I will say I have a banging outfit right now. I look crazy. Like the amount of clothes in the game, you can design your own clothes. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like the turnips are like buy low, sell high. But where do you? If the prices change, is the idea that you go to someone else's island where they're buying them for a lot more?
Yeah, I suppose.
And also, not to sound like this guy, but why the hell do I even want bells? What do they do?
Well, bells are your currency to buy. Like to upgrade your house will cost a ton of bells through that raccoon dude, Tom Nook or whatever. So you got to pay him to get a big ass house, and like houses for your villagers. I think you pay for them too. I'm not sure, but that's how you're gonna pay for everything. So that's why you want to collect and sell.
Yeah. Let me rephrase that. I knew that it was the currency. I was just more curious why I wanted the currency. Like, what's my motivation? Yeah. That's what I mean. And I guess now I understand that you upgrade your house with it, which I have to be more invested in what things look like in the game.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to realize that I'm very objective based, and I'm not entirely certain this is the game for me, but I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah, because like Sydney's house looks like a Japanese dojo. Like she decorated it like a complete dojo style. It looks really cool. And then I've seen other people's where they have like Da Vinci or the statue of David, and then they put like 10 of them in their house, and then they put like chairs in front of telescopes that only zoom in on their butt, and that's their like observatory.
See, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking. It's almost like Minecraft, but not,
yeah.
Right? Like, it's all about creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more science minded than I am creative minded, unfortunately.
Then when you get the weapons factory, you can start murdering everyone. So that's also an option when you start doing that. No, I'm just kidding. That's not an option, but it could be.
Gosh, I'm gonna set up chairs and telescopes where we both sit in the chairs and we just stare at each other through the telescopes.
Oh, well, what it could be is instead, it could be face-to-face toilets, because I like that idea. So we would just have a conjoined bathroom where they're face-to-face toilets.
Done.
Yeah.
Face-to-face toilets it is. All right,
yeah.
Sold. On another note, similar style of game, very similar, basically the exact same, but not at all. Game you might want to check out called Bannerlord.
Oh, I think I've seen it. What do you do?
It is like a mix of Chivalry or Mordhau mixed with Total War, and it's a kingdom game where you like take over the entire, like Total War, or more recently there's a Warhammer Total War game.
War,
it's you will move across the big map, command armies, take over kingdoms, but there's lots of crap to do, and it's still in early access. And it's pretty insane. This is probably the best early access game I've ever played. Like it feels like a bonus game, but it's fantastic.
I did see a question in the chat. Let me hit you. So the clear paints, yeah. So the clear is that it's only one pigment in it. So if it's clear orange, it's only a orange pigment. There's nothing else. So like for example, This royal purple is probably a mix of blue, red, purple, and black because it's a little bit dark. And so what's tricky sometimes about mixing paint is that if you're mixing a color, sometimes the end result after you've combined two of them isn't what you would expect it to be. And it's because of the different pigments that are already mixed into it. So you may mix something thinking, oh, I'm gonna get a light blue, and then your result is a weird, like muddy, grayish blue, and you don't know why. Well, it's because there are other pigments mixed into that are interfering with the color that you're already putting in there with it. So with the clear paints, you're only dealing with that one. They are pretty transparent, so that means they don't have a lot of coverage. Typically, you would need, like, if you're using clear orange on black, I would say you might end up with like 4 applications before it looks really orange. What I use the clear paints for all the time is tinting already existing colors to use them in different applications. So if I'm painting something that's like all brown, I may tint that brown a little bit with like clear magenta or clear orange or clear red or something like that. So that way I still have brown, but it's only slightly different, and that way visually it's more intriguing. And then they're also really good for an airbrush. If you're doing tinting, you can put some of the clear through the airbrush, and you can do it that way as well. But I do it all the time. But yeah, that's what I use them for. I use them all the time, constantly. Whenever I'm doing painting that's not related to the kits or anything, I pretty much only use 32 colors, and in those 32 colors are 8 clear paints. So that should give you an idea of how much I really enjoy them.
Yeah, the more and more I learn about like professionals and their like paint collection, the more and more I realize that I feel like the better you get, the fewer paints you have.
Yeah.
Not to say that people with a lot of paints aren't good. It's just Anne, for instance, said that she could mix any color that she's ever made with like 8 total bottles of paint.
Yeah.
And just like you said, your collection, like if your core, if you had to take a core with you and get wherever you needed to go, you have, you know, what, 32 bottles? Is that what you said?
Yeah, and that 32 could be slimmed down to like 15. So.
And the one exception to this, I would say, is probably Proctor, purely because he has told me that he, first of all, if he was going to just paint something red, he might use 9 different colors to get there, because he is all kinds of crazy with mixing colors.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. That's obviously just his style. But anyway, so he is probably one of the exceptions to people who have a ton of paint, because they like to mix so much to achieve, you know, 1 color or 2 colors.
And some of that too. So I think what you were trying to say, in not a haha you're not good way, right? The flip coin of that is, when you're new to painting and you're not as familiar with mixing paint or color theory, it is super obvious that you would just purchase pre-mixed colors, so that way you don't have to worry about it, right?
Absolutely.
And that way you're like, I've got every color I need under the sun. For me, it got to the point to where I had like 600 or more colors that I'm like, you know what? I'm actually losing time during the painting process by having to sit here and think, what color out of all these reds is the right red for me, right? And that's when I went down and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna come together with like a palette of my most used colors and tones, and then I'm just gonna buy like, you know, I don't know, I think I bought 8 of every single color. And so I did 32 colors times 8, and that was like my investment for the future. That's the only colors I'm gonna use. There's some other colors that come and go, like obviously because of these kits, I've fallen in love with like Auburn Shadow. Auburn Shadow is an awesome color. So that I may take one of my 32 colors out and replace it with that, right? Or like, you know, using phthalo green a bunch. I mean, I love phthalo green. However, it's not a color that's like a thing. So I can't really put that in my list of 32 because I don't know if I'll ever be able to get more whenever I'm out of it. So, you know, some of it is more of just like a utility option. And then out of those 32 colors, I still have like, for every primary color, I think I have 3 versions of that primary. I have one that is super light, one that is super dark, and then one is as close to the primary color as I can get. And then I have maybe like 4 variations on brown. I have 2 metallic colors, and that's it. And then all of the clear colors, and that gets me to that 32. So, but yeah. That's pretty much where it sits at. So what I did this time around, I glazed everything down that we just did with the intense brown color. So you can see now we're really close to our final look. We're gonna go back and shade everything one more time after this is dry, and then one final highlight, and it's gonna get us to the skin on the left, or the fur on the left there. And then we'll just finish out the rest of the details. Now, one thing we can do right now is just make a wash out of our royal purple and just wash it on top here of the little dangly strand. I just did that purple. Then I'm gonna take some of that intense brown wash and apply it onto the feathers. Start tinting the feathers down. Sorry, Jeffrey, the 32 color list is only for people on Patreon. That is one thing I only give to them. Mostly because it helps them follow the classwork really easily. That way, you know, they know, okay, well, if he's only using so many colors, they know how to match it. But I also do like a palette system whenever I'm doing classes on Patreon, so that's why they kind of like to know the colors.
Although, I think this is probably more important. We need to know what your MySpace's top 8 is.
Oh, I don't even know.
Sorry,
Dylon,
Chewy.
Dylon.
Oh, man, haven't heard that reference in a hot minute, too. That's 2 references in one between the Banana Shack and the Dave Chappelle. It's fantastic.
So I'm taking intense brown here. I'm just going to paint the rope, and then we're going to paint the rope around his neck. We're not trying to kill the bear. His necklace. There you go. Oh, I highlighted all of that, and it was rope. Haha, very classic. Don't worry if your brown sort of goes outside the edges of the actual rope, because we're going to shade everything down again one more time. And that will kind of fix any spill you get. You can see that that wash really mellowed out the harsh highlights we had previously. That's why we only have, you know, one more layer to put on top in terms of a highlight, and then one more layer to carve back in terms of a shadow. Cool. Highlight up the wood here on the handle. Oops, I just, oh, no I didn't, okay. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm just waiting for that to dry before we go back in one more time. You can see now that it's dried, though it's desaturated quite a bit compared to that one. So now we're gonna go back with our Noir Black and Royal Purple. This will be our final wash application. Some Noir Black out here. There we go. A little bit more. Oh, come on, man. A little bit more. Come on, man. Come on, man. There we go. Sometimes Noir Black can fight you. Yeah, on average on Patreon, if you are at the $10 tier, you are paying me like $1.75 an hour for the amount of stuff you get. All right. And the only reason it works is because there's over 70 people there now. So it works out pretty well. Big shout out to all the Patreones. All right, so I'm gonna be going back through. We're gonna go into the shadow areas where we need more definition. So I'm gonna go back in between the arm and everything right here. Go back a little bit here on the bottom of these deeper shadow areas. A color we're applying isn't necessarily really dark, but it is very neutral. So we're gonna be desaturating anything we touch with it. So you do have to keep that in mind. Connection on the hand here and the handle. Let's make that darker. See what we got on this side. There we go. Back of the legs. We really haven't done anything on the legs because the tone down there is going to be darker anyway. Actually, let me wash over the toots. That is the medical term for bare toes, toots. Didn't know if y'all knew that or not. We're gonna go in between this arm right here. In between the pecs and around the necklace, redefining the necklace shape. Like so. And we'll go ahead and apply this on top of the rope on the necklace too. We do need to highlight it up again anyway. Underneath the jaw. A little bit in the pec muscle. Go ahead and do a little bit on the left-hand side of this arm, just since it is tilted. It would make sense if we've got more shadow there. There we go. Anytime I want to desaturate it as well, or decrease the intensity, I'll just go ahead and hit it with a little bit of water on top. Back of the neck, dropping it down a little bit underneath the ear, covering the rope, under the ear on this side, all right, so now we've reshaded down quite a bit. If we compare our shading to the guy on the left, you can see it's pretty much the same. We have more red in this one, which I knew was gonna happen because of a secondary application of our intense brown. Totally fine with that. Now then, I'm gonna very gently wash into the crook of the nose there where it meets the eyes. And I'm gonna apply a little bit more right there in between the middle part of his fur. Just a little bit of, little part of middle part in there. There we go. And we're gonna let this stuff dry, and then we can do our final application of our fur highlight. Only thing left we need to highlight really are the lips, painting the nose black, the eyes black, dotting both, and then the feathers. Oh, actually, I'm a big old crazy liar because we didn't do the nails. I'm sorry, y'all. Here, we're just painter's choice on the nail color. You can really just mix anything you got on your palette. But this guy's got big old crazy bear nails. I'm a bear, I got nails. He's like, it's pronounced claw. Okay, what did I do for the lip there? The lip, we just did sort of an off color. So we'll do that here. A little bit of a lip highlight for you. Then, we're gonna paint the nose pretty much all noir black. You want it to be very dark. If you're not using Noir Black at home, just use any old black, it'll be fine. If you're wondering how far back to take it, just look at the side of the nose, and that will show you how far back the nose should actually sit on top there. Because mine didn't have a clearly defined edge on top, so I just looked to the side for the reference. Paint all that black. There we go. And you want it to be full black. You don't really want anything to be showing through because we're going to go back and highlight it up to make it look wet. And then go ahead and do the eyes really dark as well, because we're just going to add little white dots in there, boop, boop, to make it look like it's a little dark animal eye. Make sure when you do it, you actually make the noise, otherwise you will have 7 years bad luck. Boop, boop. See? I'm not getting in trouble. Boop, boop. All right, so that's fine. I'm gonna increase the color that we used for the nails with a little bit more of our ivory color. There's a highlight. And I'm gonna wash them down as well. Kind of make them dirty, but I just wanna highlight up any visible edge. There we are. Boop the snoot, exactly, Zambies. Exactly. All right, so I'm gonna take some of this splintered bone. We're gonna add some dots here. Right on the edge of the nose, we're gonna add a couple dots to signify, hey, it's wet, man. Shiny. So here we go. So we got some shiny doots on the nose. And then you also want to hit inside the nostrils. The nostrils, of course, are also wet. So yeah, they're gonna shine. That's a little bit too much there, but it's okay. I'm not up close to my camera, so I can't really see, or I'm close to the mini, so I can't see where I'm aiming. But I mean, I'm gonna go back here and make that little dot smaller. There we go. There we go. Now we have 2 little boops inside there. But you can see it just adds a nice little bit of realism. And then inside of the eyes as well, we're gonna add 2 little tiny reflective dotterinos. Dot number 1. Dot number 2. There you go. Simple enough, right? Anytime I'm painting animals, I always like to do this black eye with a dot thing because it's, one, much easier to do than painting a full old eyeball, and 2, I just feel like it makes it kind of get this like illustrative quality to it. Now then I'm gonna go in, whoops, sorry, I'm hitting the hat. I'm gonna go in here with my whiter color to do some of these feathers. I'm just highlighting up each individual little feather part. Shouldn't be too hard to do because they are sculpted pretty much the width of a brush. So you can see that took me no time there. Took no time. Look at that. See how nice that looks? See how nice that looks? I kind of felt like Carol Baskin saying that. I don't know why. We'll go ahead and do this other one. There we go. Look at that, we got 2 nice feathers ready to rock and roll. We'll go ahead and do the top of this nail. There we go, I feel like that looks a little bit better. All right, so now what we're waiting to do here is highlight up the fur. And take the same color we've been using pretty much this whole time. For that final highlight application, I added in a little bit of my white color I had off on the side of the palette. As I'm gonna go back and do some final highlight touches around the body on places where I wanna bring in some more emphasis.
Zambies posed an important question. Who would win in a fight, a bear versus a tiger?
Um,
And I assume when we say bear, like, because that's kind of important too. Tiger's pretty straightforward, right? But like bear, we're not referring to a black bear, right? We're talking about like a grizzly bear.
yeah, if that's the case, I'm gonna go with the grizzly.
I mean, the grizzly would definitely be a lot stronger, but the tiger, depending on the age of the tiger, really, of course. Um, let's say they're both young. I think the tiger is much quicker.
Well, so what I'm considering is the stamina of the fight, right? So I'm thinking, like, because of the sheer bulk, the bear, you know, you're going to have to do a lot more damage a lot faster to take it out. But the bear can only fight for so long, but I feel like the bear definitely would just overpower.
Bears are also kind of clumsy, so that's... I feel like a tiger, with its wits about it, much like a cat, they just kind of dodge stuff, and then next thing you know, the cat's got the bear by the throat, and it's over.
Now that, I mean, I am thinking about that, right? Like, because when you think about how the tiger would have to attack the bear, it would just have to wrap its body around it and just start digging in, clawing in, whatever. All the bear's going to have to do is get a bite down. I mean, I'm sure both of their jaws have, like, similar crushing power, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
you know what? That's doable.
Yeah, because I'm thinking the bear, just off base, if it's like a full-grown grizzly, could, like, pop the tiger's head if he got the chance. So I'm guessing it would just come down to who made the first mistake, whether it's the bear or the tiger, but... So I'm just going through one final time and applying these final highlights wherever I think they should go. I'm going for the shoulders.
So the grizzly bear has 150 more pounds per inch of bite force than the tiger does. But that's to say one's at 1,200 and one's at like 1,050. So they're both pretty ferocious as far as bite force, let's be honest.
Right, roll initiative. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking the bear if the bear hits first. Otherwise, I would assume the cat would just tire the bear out and then just go for the throat. But it's a good question to pose. I mean, that's definitely a matchup for the ages. It's kind of like, who would do better, a battle toad or a ninja turtle? The world may never know. Or maybe a biker rat from Mars. What was it? Biker rats from Mars? Or what was that show?
I have no idea.
You don't remember that? It was like these mice that were from Mars and they rode bikes. It was like Street Shark era. Somebody in the chat is gonna know. Biker mice from Mars. Yeah, exactly. We're pulling all the references out here.
According to this quote here, because they're assuming a Siberian tiger, so that's the assumption, is Siberian tiger versus grizzly bear. Maybe because they're both northern animals.
Right.
But it says here that the Siberian tiger is far better hunter than the North American grizzly bear. Both the grizzly bear and the Siberian tiger paw swipes are equally powerful, but tiger is more technical than a grizzly, apparently, whatever that means. Siberian tiger canine teeth are longer and thicker than grizzly bears. So it doesn't quite solve anything, but...
All right, Animorphs. Oh my gosh, who just brought up a Hork-Bajir? All right, only the real ones know about the Hork-Bajir. All right, so here we are. I'm thinking our two boys are definitely cousins. I'm thinking it is no surprise to me that we have more contrast on the one that we worked on today, and the one that we worked on today is also a bit warmer. What I'm wondering too is if it's because this guy has the matte varnish on him. It always kind of takes out some of the reflective nature of these paints, because I know for a fact that a lot of the shadow that we're seeing is reflecting back at us. But I think we did really well. There's less purple on some of the objects. You can tell I washed down that axe more. But again, this axe is duller now because it has that matte varnish on it. But either way, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tackle your bears. This is a... Sharky, that's hilarious. But I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are able to do with them. I know it's a different technique. I mean, we did the Panther. The Panther was covered in fur. We've done the Yeti. The Yeti was covered in fur. All of these are kind of like, you know, they're all sort of the same technique, but it's the same collection of techniques for sure, right? But we sort of focus more on one or the other. And like I said too, right, with the desert set that I posted this morning, even that camel is a little bit different than in technique. So it always changes. I always try and keep it different for you, but I'm looking forward to see what you guys do there. The next miniature that we're going to be working on, of course, next Monday is going to be the hero right here. So I'm assuming any changes that are made on this paint job, I really like this paint job, you're probably just going to see more purple in the shadows and probably on the weapon. We may make a couple changes there, but otherwise I'm looking forward to it. I will have a prep video for you guys there as well. I know a lot of people said that this guy's super difficult to put together, but I didn't pin anything. I didn't pin the hand, didn't pin the foot. This is all just super glue, and I mean, he's not falling apart. I'm flicking this like an idiot and it's not coming off. All I did was sort of increase the hole on the hand, and then I shaved and scored down where I glued him on with the foot. What are you? Where did this guy come from? Now it's gone. But you know, some people had a harder time than others, but I don't necessarily, you know, think it's required unless your cast is a little bit different than mine. But anyway, we're gonna have fun with this guy next week, and you won't see me until then. I'm gonna be disappearing for the move. So if that is it, Justin, do you have anything else for us?
No, other than tomorrow, catch Ann at 11:30. Catch Proctor at 4 p.m. Central Time. Of course, the stream schedule is below, and it does auto adjust to your time zone. So when you look at it, it counts down to the next time we go live, based on what time it is for you. And what else? I think that's about it. No episode Wednesday afternoon. As it turns out, we're supposed to have a ReaperCon meeting Wednesday afternoon, so there won't even be any sort of replacement stream. Outside of that, I don't think I have any other special. And oh, we have a couple of new emotes. In fact, when I get a raid set up here for us, don't forget to use our new Reaper raid emote.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yes. Here pretty soon we'll have a Reaper Love, so you'll be raiding, and then, you know, you'll be hitting them with the Reaper Love emote too.
Very cool.
Because you gotta spread love, right?
I mean, you would think so. Oh yeah, Reaper raid. I see. It's a little squishy, but it works.
I like it. That's weird, John. That's weird. Don't hit Collins with a spoon.
That's hilarious. Alrighty, guys. Well, if we are raiding somebody today, who are we gonna go hang out with?
Let's see here. What do you think about Giggling Geek?
Sounds good to me. Go give her a hello.
Yes, don't forget to show her the new Reaper. Oh, that's great, Zabies. I like that. Don't forget to give Giggling Geek our new Reaper raid emoji. Spread the Reaper love. Keep being awesome. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow morning for Ann's show. Thank you, Josh, for the awesome miniature today.
Thank you. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week.
All right, see you guys later.
See you later.